What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from the Quartering, and things are escalating over in the Mideast, an area in which I don't want America to have any part of. In fact, we have lots of problems in our own country that need taking care of. I mean, we've got riots going on in about a dozen Democrat-led cities right now. How about we worry about that? But that's neither here nor there, because Israel wants its war, and it has said, essentially, with or without our approval, that it wants to attack Iran. Why? Because they're really close to a nuke. Now, I don't know about you. Maybe that's true. Maybe that's true. But are any of you old enough? Like, are you in your 50s, 60s, early 40s like me? You probably remember. It sounds a lot like those WMDs Bush Jr. was talking about. All those WMDs, why we had to go into Iraq, right? They're literally running the same playbook. Comic Dave Smith says, it's generally hard to imagine a worse decision than going to war with Iran. They pose absolutely no threat to us, and the war would be substantially larger catastrophe than Iraq. If you want to destroy the USA, another disastrous war in the Middle East would be the move. Now, this is, people who are, really pro-Israel feel like, well, I mean, golly gee, Israel's got to go and defend itself, and that's fine. But the problem is, the larger scale of this means if the United States joins in on any kind of large-scale military strike, ultimately, that's going to be like the U.S. invading. Israel can pretend like it's just out there doing whatever it wants to do to protect herself, as Ben Shapiro says. But that's just not the truth, is it? Israel uses American weapons and the specter of the American alliance to carry out whatever military operations it sees fit. Now, that's all fine and dandy for any sovereign nation to do, but I don't want any part of it. Even the mainstream media is saying Israel's least bad option is a Trump deal with Iran. We've got troops being moved out. We've got travel warnings, level 4 travel warning to places like Iraq. I don't know why any American would want to go to Iraq, but this is all very, very bad. Trump is probably the only thing standing between yet another large-scale war, and his strong, unwavering support for Israel is concerning for me. Because if Israel, Bibi wants to do what Bibi wants to do, I'm not so sure Trump's going to stand up against him. And that's a concern for me. Having once described Donald Trump as Israel's greatest friend ever, Benjamin Netanyahu must be watching with some consternation as American president enthusiastically persuades a nuclear deal with Iran. After all, the Israeli prime minister made every effort to stop the Obama administration Iran deal in 2015. Trump exited the deal in 2018, perhaps partially at Netanyahu's urging, and now Trump is pursuing the deal of his own administration, has even dropped a number of Iran hawks from its ranks, in what one pro-Israel DC outlet described as a purge. Israel leaders shouldn't fear a new Iran nuclear deal. They may find reasons to welcome it, among a host of bad options for curbing Iran's nuclear program and pacifying a volatile region. A nuclear agreement between Trump's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, don't really care, could be the least bad option for Israel too. I mean, I don't know, what a war between Iran and Israel would look like. Are we talking boots on the ground? Are we talking just airstrikes? What are we really talking here? Tactical strikes on nuclear sites. Are we talking about that? Well, now Iran has threatened to strike the United States if conflict erupts over the nuclear program. This is bad. This is bad. Now, Trump has been the least, hawkish president of my short time paying attention to the presidents, which started right around Bush Jr. Basically, everyone has been all about them wars. Ahead of nuclear talks, U.S. President Trump says he is losing confidence about reaching a deal with Iran. Iran's defense minister has said his country will target U.S. military bases in the region if conflict breaks out with the United States, as President Trump said he was losing confidence that a nuclear deal would be reached. Washington and Tehran have held 5 rounds of talks since April, as Trump seeks an agreement that would place constraints on Iran's uranium enrichment. He has threatened to attack Iran if no deal can be reached. This is the concern, right? Defense Minister Aziz don't really care said on Wednesday that Iran would target U.S. military bases if the region, if the U.S. attacked it first. Some officials have also said, on the other side, threatened conflict if negotiations don't come to fruition. If a conflict is imposed on us, all U.S. bases are within our reach, and we will boldly target them in host countries. I don't know if they have the capability for that. Some of their greatest allies are pretty busy fighting other wars right now, but I don't really like threats either. Threats make me want to respond. Iraq, in the meantime, has not monitored any security concerns that call for evacuation of U.S. personnel from embassy in Baghdad. And Iraqi state news agency reported Wednesday. U.S. and Iraqi sources said earlier that Washington is preparing a partial evacuation of its Iraqi embassy and will allow dependents to depart locations around the Middle East due to escalated security risk in the region. Let's not have ourselves another disaster. Let's get them out now before things. I'd rather not be there at all, to be honest with you. It just makes an easy target for jihadis. Later in the day, Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian reiterated Tehran's red lines. We have announced that the supreme leader has a belief that we will not build nuclear weapons. Come and evaluate it if you want. We will not build a nuclear bomb. However, who gave you permission to say that we in this country do not have the right to conduct research on such topics? Who are they to tell us that we have no right to conduct research and must shut everything down? We are engaged in negotiations. We stand firm. Look, I actually understand that position. Okay? As an American, I don't want any foreign country telling me what I can and can't do, so I imagine Iran doesn't feel that way either. Trump said he was growing less confident the nuclear deal will be reached in the comments on a podcast on Wednesday. I don't know. The U.S. leader told the podcast Podforce One on Monday when asked whether or not he would strike a deal with Iran. Right now, Trump has, I think he's desperately trying to stop yet another gigantic, large-scale war. I don't think he wants anything to do with it. Trump wanted an Iran nuclear deal fast. Now he may get military confrontation. I don't think he would. I'm not concerned about Iran. Anybody who supports going to war with Iran at this point should be primaried. I don't want any more foreign wars. Nobody does. That's not what we voted for. Oil prices spiked overnight on geopolitical concerns as U.S. President Donald Trump struck a sharply more negative tone over progress of nuclear talks with Iran and announced the withdrawal of some American personnel in the Middle East. This development marks a stark shift after several rounds of mostly indirect U.S.-Iran talks that were described as positive and respectful. Both the Trump administration and Iran have expressed their desire to strike a deal. For Trump, it would deliver a political and diplomatic win that the previous Biden administration failed to achieve. For Iran, it would mean desperately needed relief from sanctions that have crippled its economy. I think they have somewhere around a 40% inflation rate right now. Unfortunately, now it looks a little more unlikely. Military personnel are being moved out because it could give a dangerous place. We'll see what happens. We have given a notice to move out. Trump told reporters on Wednesday the Pentagon ordered the withdrawal of troops and non-essential staff from embassies in Baghdad, Kuwait, and Bahrain. Speaking on the podcast, Trump said on Wednesday, accused Tehran of delaying, saying less confident now than it would have been a couple months ago. Tehran, meanwhile, has accused Washington of not being serious in its engagement, not respecting Iran's right to enrich uranium for what it insists are peaceful purposes. They want to, that's exactly what everybody says. And, the question is, how long is Israel going to stay out of it? Because Israel just does whatever the heck it wants. Here in the New York Times, Israel appears ready to attack Iran, officials in the U.S. and Europe say. Concern about a strike and the prospect of retaliation led the United States to withdraw diplomats from Iraq and authorize the voluntary departure of U.S. military family members from the Middle East. Israel appears as preparing to launch an attack on Iran, according to officials in the United States and Europe, a step that could further inflame Middle East and derail or delay efforts by the Trump administration to broker a deal to cut off Iran's path to building a nuclear bomb. The concern about the potential Israeli strike and the prospect of retaliation by Iran led the United States on Wednesday to withdraw diplomats. It's unclear how extensive an attack Israel might be preparing, but the rising tensions come after months in which Prime Minister Netanyahu of Israel has pressed President Trump to seize on what Israel sees as a moment of Iranian vulnerability to strike. Mr. Trump waved off another plan by Israel several months ago to attack Iran, insisting that he wanted a chance to negotiate a deal with Tehran that would choke off Iran's ability to produce more nuclear fuel for a bomb. 2 weeks ago, Mr. Trump said he had warned Mr. Netanyahu about launching a strike while U.S. negotiations with Iran are underway. I mean, I think Trump is desperately trying to stop World War III here. And Iran and Israel just might not care. They might just say, nah, we're going to do it anyway. I mean, there has been some volleys back and forth between Israel and Iran. We know that Iran funds a lot of these freedom fighters, as the left calls them. So I don't know. You know, I think that Trump is probably running out of time to convince Netanyahu not to do it. And that's concerning for me. This, Bibi Netanyahu seems like he is a little bit unhinged to me. And I understand everything he's doing, dealing with Hamas and all these people. I even support it. I don't know, about the whole Gaza-Palestine thing. That's not my area of expertise. But, I mean, I don't care if he's blowing up Terry's. You see Biden admin clears the way for prisoner swap deal with Iran, lifts freeze on $6 billion in Iranian funds. This is Joe Biden's fault. Joe Biden enabled all of this. Nobody wants war with Iran. This will definitely divide MAGA into the 85% of MAGA and then the 15% of MAGA that are like blind Israel supporters. You see, Secretary of Defense confirmed that Iran's Terry regime is actively working towards a nuclear weapon. For the sakes of our national security, the security of our allies, and millions of civilians in the region, this cannot be allowed to happen. Fine. Get on the phone, get a deal done. They do not pose, Matt Walsh says, Iran does not pose any credible threat to the United States. We do not need to get involved in yet another war in the Middle East for reasons that have nothing to do with defending our own nation. I agree. If Trump is reading the room, he knows that no, we did not vote for this. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below, and we'll talk to you again real soon.